Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be revisiting a topic that I covered a couple weeks ago on the body camera channel. This is the video that I released where I called for the termination of the Inspector General in the City of Columbus, the investigative supervisor, which is Scott Hurler, and also the investigator in this particular case where they falsely accused a Columbus police officer of violating the division's bias-based profiling directive. The reason that I'm making this video today and I'm kind of revisiting this is because the Inspector General herself has released a statement in response to the video that I put out a couple weeks ago. We're going to cover that here in a moment. But the statement that she released is I'm having a hard time putting into words what's going on here because it's absolutely insane. The statement that she releases, she's going to acknowledge that the officer used the wrong race in his report, but she's also going to double down on the stupidity of the report and say, we're going to stand behind our investigation. So the investigation was based 100% on false pretense, but based on the information we found with that false pretense, we're still going to try to hold the officer accountable for something that he did not do. That's what's going on here. So if you don't quite remember, I'm just going to briefly kind of review what this case was about. You know, I was watching the Columbus Police Civilian Review Board meeting one day, and I saw that an officer was found guilty of bias-based profiling. That to me is a big deal because you're accusing an officer of being racist. So I requested the investigation. I got the investigation, and I have a portion of the report right here where it says that the complainant alleges the incident occurred on July 26th when an officer initiated contact with a minor male African-American teen in the Hilltop area of Columbus. It says that basically this officer harassed this African-American teen on his way home from the store for no reason other than being black and wearing a hoodie. I then watched the body camera footage for myself. I looked up the mugshot of the person who was in this alleged incident, and it's a white kid. And I was absolutely blown away by it. So I got the entire investigative packet. And not only is the kid white in mugshots and on the body camera footage, but the video that this kid sent the office of the Inspector General shows his hands and stuff. And he is white in this video. So I put out a video saying, listen, these guys are lying. They're making stuff up in order to punish officers because they're looking at things through a biased lens. I put out that video, and that caused the Inspector General herself to release a statement based on about it, right? And this is the part where it gets insane. This is an insult to anybody with a brain that's been paying attention. It's an insult to every single Columbus police officer. And most importantly, it's an insult to the officer, Mike Shannon, who they filed this complaint against. This is a statement. This is the way the city of Columbus likes to release statements. They put as few facts as possible in them and make it as vague as possible so that if you weren't already following the story, you won't be aware of what it is that they're talking about. So the statement itself says, and it's got some bad sentence structure in it, I apologize. The City of Columbus Department of Inspector General has been made aware of an error in a recent investigation report written by our office. Upon notification of the matter, we reviewed the report in question, updated the statement in question, and corrected the matter. I'm going to stop there for a minute. So what they did was they went to this report and they said, you know what, this African-American part, we're going to take that out. We're going to correct the matter and we're going to take that out. Correcting the matter to me means no more bias-based profiling allegation against the officer. But that's not what they did. They said they updated the statement in question and corrected the matter. The update to the report does not impact the final findings of the investigation. The findings of the investigation stand as originally determined based on evidence obtained and reviewed. So they wrote a report that says an African-American teenager was harassed for no reason other than being black and wearing a hoodie. Therefore, it violates the division's bias-based profiling directive. They were then reminded of the fact that no, the kid's not black at all. They're like, oh, he's not black. Well, it's still bias-based profiling, so we're going to hammer the officer. No, that's not how this works. In order to understand this fully, you have to understand a couple of things that happened here. First of all, the bias-based policing directive, and I have it right here. Let's see. Yeah, this is the page I wanted. So bias-based profiling is stopping, questioning, searching, detaining, or arresting, or the seizure of assets or attempt to forfeit property. And this is one of the lines that is most important. Based solely on a person's race, sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, expression, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, age, disability, whatever. So if an officer stops, questions, search, detains, or seizes a person based solely on the persons and then has all of these other factors, that is a violation of the bias-based profiling directive. If an officer goes up and questions somebody because he thought that person was acting in a strange manner, that does not fit this category. It's based solely on the person's race, sex, sexual identity, gender identity, whatever. The officer said that he wanted to talk to this young man because the officer had been driving loops around the block. He noticed this kid on an abnormally hot day wearing clothing that did not fit the weather. That is kind of point number one. Point number two is he had a kid that was wearing clothes that were abnormally warm for the weather, and then the kid was like really eyeballing him as he drove through the neighborhood. That's two things. You also have to remember that this is a neighborhood that is a high crime neighborhood where there are a lot of Kias and Hyundais being stolen. The people that are stealing these Kias and Hyundais are teenagers. These are teenagers that are often wearing hoodies with the hood pulled up, drawn over their face to conceal their identity. Did it reach the level of reasonable suspicion for the officer to detain this person? No. Did he have a hunch about this person and wanted to go up and question him? Yes. Did he violate the division's bias-based profiling? No, because he did question a person, but he didn't do it based solely on the person's race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, religion, ancestry, or any of those things. Never once during the entire investigation was his race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, nation of origin, none of those things were brought up. The officer never once brought any of those things up. He brought up the fact that the kid was walking on a really hot day with a hood pulled up over his head. He talked about the fact that he thought he recognized the kid from other criminal activity that has occurred in the past. This is not bias-based profiling. This is the thing here's what's happening. This statement right here by the Inspector General is confirming that they're incompetent and they don't know how to do their job, and that they should not be doing these investigations against police officers. Here's exactly why. So they're saying, okay, look, we're going to take the race out of it, but we're still going to say that he stopped this kid for no reason. Well, he didn't stop the kid. He questioned the kid. So here's what they're doing is they're taking pieces and parts of different paragraphs that don't fit together and trying to say that this is a reason for a policy violation. So he's saying that he questioned the kid without reasonable suspicion. Well, that's not a violation of bias-based profiling. That's not a violation of anything. What that is a consensual encounter. For those of you that don't remember the definition of a consensual encounter, here it is according to the Ohio Supreme Court. A consensual encounter occurs where the police merely approach a person in a public place, engage that person in conversation, request information, and the person is free not to answer and walk away. That is 100% exactly what happened during the course of this investigation. The officer did not violate this person's rights, did not stop and detain him, did not search him, did not seize his person, did not do anything wrong. But the Office of the Inspector General is standing behind that allegation. Now, where does this go forward? Because when I posted the original video and the follow-up videos to it, people are saying, where's the FOP in all of this? Where's his representation? What's the FOP have to say about this? Well, you have to remember this process, what this process is. So basically, the Columbus Police Department used to have an internal affairs section. They still have an internal affairs section, but they no longer investigate citizen complaints. The mayor and city council created the Civilian Review Board and the Office of the Inspector General, and they made it so through their verdict that all citizen complaints are going to go to the Office of the Inspector General. The one thing is that the Inspector General and their investigative powers and everything are not part of the contract between the city and the Fraternal Order of Police. Therefore, all of these investigations by the Office of Inspector General, I'll pull up this one right here, they don't mean anything. They carry no weight. They have no authority whatsoever to hand down punishments to officers. Yet. But right now, we are in the FOP in the city of Columbus, the FOP Lodge 9 in the city of Columbus, are in negotiations for the next contract. That's going to go from December 8th, 2023. The contract's already expired. So it'll be backdated to December 9th, 2023 for 4 years. So up through 2027. The current contract that's being negotiated, one of the things that the city of Columbus wants is that they want these investigations from the Office of Inspector General to have binding recommendations for discipline. Right now, they don't. So when the Office of Inspector General conducts an investigation of this manner that is this faulty with this much false information, it gets sent to the Civilian Review Board, which also has no authority. The Civilian Review Board will go ahead and vote on this and say, yes, we sustain this. We're going to send it to the Chief of Police with recommendation for discipline. That officer's chain of command is going to review the investigation. They're going to look at this and they're going to say, look, the kid wasn't black. He was white. The kid was never stopped. He was never detained. He was never searched. His race or protected class was not used as a basis for this stop. Therefore, this entire investigation is complete bullshit. We're not going to do anything to the officer. It's a complete waste of time. But in the meantime, this officer is having his name mentioned in official reports saying that he did something wrong when he didn't. Now, if the mayor and city council and the safety director and all the people that are working under the umbrella of the mayor and his political power, if they get what they want, then the Office of the Inspector General will have binding discipline recommendations going forward. That means that this complaint, this falsely written complaint against an officer, will go in his permanent file. This is something that cannot be allowed to happen. There's two major changes that have to happen. There has to be integrity in this process. And in order for there to be integrity in this process, the Office of the Inspector General needs to be completely cleaned out, and it needs to be fulfilled with competent people that understand police work and understand the rules that they're supposed to be enforcing. If that's not done, they will never have authority to do anything with the police department. The members of the Fraternal Order of Police that are voting on this next contract will never vote to give them power because they're showing that they're incompetent. So it would be in the best interest of, I'm going to put their faces back up here. It would be in the best interest of these people to actually be competent, but they're not capable of doing that. So it's my hope that the next contract between the City of Columbus and the Fraternal Order of Police does not give them any authority. So then you're going to have another 4 years of these people running their stupid bullshit kangaroo court and fake investigations and passing it up to the Civilian Review Board, watching the Civilian Review Board freak out about a whole bunch of stuff that absolutely doesn't matter. What this is just political flexing by the mayor and the people that are aligned with him politically to try to show that they're reforming the police department. But in actuality, this is just a tremendous waste of time, effort, and energy. And it's doing more to harm the process than it's doing to help the process. I read somewhere before that the purpose of the Office of the Inspector General is to foster trust between the police department and the citizens that they serve, and kind of reestablish that confidence in the process. When we have stuff like this happening where they're completely lying about somebody's race, and then when they get caught lying about somebody's race, they say, oh, you know what? That was a minor error. We're going to correct that error, but we're going to still find the officer guilty of violating policy when he did not violate policy. This does not build confidence in that system. This is the type of thing that creates chaos in the system. Now, there's another very significant effect that investigations like this and statements like this have on the police department. And there's two major things that I want to bring up today. The first one is the, sorry, there's a phone ringing upstairs. I didn't expect that. The first effect that it has is that on people that want to become police officers that live in central Ohio, they look at the Columbus Division of Police and they say, you know what? After 6 years as a police officer, I can be making like $104,000, $105,000, and that's before special duty and overtime. I want to go work for them. I want to make that kind of money. But then they look at these kinds of investigations and the way the city is treating officers and the lack of respect for officers and just the overall impression that if a complaint is made against an officer, we're going to assume the officer is wrong unless we can absolutely prove that they are not wrong. Nobody's going to want to work under those conditions. So people that want to become police officers, and that number, because of the effects on our society that the George Floyd protests and all that had, the number of people that want to become police officers is smaller than ever has before. That small number of people that want to become police officers want to work for an organization that has integrity, that they know is going to support them when they are doing the right things. When investigations like this come out and they show, look, this officer did all of the right things, but we still want to punish him. Nobody in their right mind wants to be a police officer in that environment. So what they're going to do is they're not going to apply for the city of Columbus. They're going to go to apply to some suburb organization, someplace that actually treats their officers fairly, that has integrity in their process. So you're not going to be getting new officers to the city of Columbus. The other effect that it has, and this is something that, they tried to get me in trouble for saying once before, but I've got the slide up right here. And it was this comment on Instagram that I made one day that they're trying to say that I violated policy by making this comment. And the comment I said was, one lesson you learn as a police officer is you cannot get in trouble for doing nothing. If you sit in a parking lot and avoid the public, let the criminals run loose, you won't lose your job for that. You won't get fired for that. You won't go to prison for that. This is what happens when you prioritize optics over fighting crime, which is the reason we have police officers. So if you want police officers to go out there and proactively work and try to sniff out criminal activity and engage with the public, then you can't punish them for trying to engage with the public. That's what's happening here. You have an officer who has 21 years on the department, who has been shot in the line of duty, almost lost his life, almost lost his career, fought like hell to get back to work, to do his job, the job that he loves. He chooses to work in a very busy, very high crime neighborhood where he continues to further risk his life by working in that neighborhood. He could go work in a much safer environment, but he chooses to work where his skills are most needed. He engages with the public by talking to a citizen that he remembers dealing with previously because that person was involved in serious crime. He didn't stop and detain that person. He didn't violate that person's rights. He didn't put a hand on that person. Didn't do anything to him other than drive up next to him and ask for his name. And the response from the city of Columbus and the Department of Public Safety and the Office of the Inspector General is to find him in violation of the bias-based profiling directive, basically calling him a racist. If you want people to come to this city and work as police officers, and you want the people who are currently in this city working as police officers, you want them to go out there and proactively work and try to reduce violent crime, go out there and try to find bad guys, you have to treat them fairly, with honesty and integrity. And that is not happening in this city right now.